So during the civil trial that found Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing writer E. Jean Carroll, Carroll's lawyers brought forth 11 witnesses to corroborate her story and as well as demonstrate a pattern of misconduct by the ex-president. One of those witnesses was Natasha Stoynoff, a former People magazine writer. She testified that Donald Trump sexually assaulted her back in 2005 when she traveled to Mar-a-Lago to write a profile on him. Trump denies assaulting anyone. Stoynoff told the jury she didn't come forward earlier because, quote, I was ashamed and humiliated to what had happened. I was worried they would kill the story and then Trump would try and get revenge on me and try and destroy me. And Natasha Stoynoff joins me now. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much for coming on this evening. I really appreciate you coming.
Thanks, Chris. I'm really glad to be here.
First, just your reaction as someone who had to go to a jury and take an oath and look at those jurors and look at that courtroom and relive what happened to you, your reaction to today's verdict.
My reaction was elation. I was really surprised that it happened so fast, and I figured that that was going to be good news. And, you know, when I went into the courtroom, it was it was such a moment of truth. I just spoke directly to the jury, and I didn't really notice anyone else in the room. And I just tried to calmly tell them what happened. And as I spoke to them, it really took me back to those moments, which is why I ended up tearful several times. And I just hope that that means that they believed me and trusted me, and that helped with this trial.
Jane Manning, who was my guest in the first block, made a point that I thought was interesting. I'd love to hear what you think about it, which is that because it was a federal civil trial, your testimony and the testimony of others was allowed to come in. In many jurisdictions, it wouldn't be. It would be viewed as excessively prejudicial, but it was allowed, and it was allowed by this judge. And the Carroll's lawyer said this established a pattern along the Access Hollywood tape. How important do you think it was that people like your safe self were able to come into that room and say what happened to you?
I think it was extremely important. I mean, I don't know if we're going to hear from the jury at all, who remain anonymous, about how important, but I think the pattern was very crucial for this. And I also think that perhaps mine and Jessica's testimony, perhaps even mine more so, was able to sort of fill in gaps that perhaps E. Jean's didn't have. You know, I knew exactly when mine happened. I knew where it was. Well, so did E. Jean, of course, but I could give a lot of specifics. So I'm hoping that that helps sort of, you know, convince the jury that of the truth of our stories.
There was this moment, I believe, that you came forward on the record with your story subsequent to the Access Hollywood tape, or in the year of 2016, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
And
2016.
Yeah, 2016. And there was this moment where you and others came forward talking to reporters saying, like, he did this to me. There was this moment where it seemed like maybe he'll drop out or Republicans will abandon him, and then he didn't. And then he became the president of the United States. Yeah. What did that moment feel like, and what does today feel like? Like, does it feel like some cosmic balancing of the scales in some way?
It almost feels like a repeat, because last time I thought for sure he wasn't going to win. And there was a drop in polls, I think, after my story came out. And I was really shocked when he won. So I really don't know what to expect this time again. I just hope that, and I'm still nervous about it, I just hope that just being there and this trial and the victory has some sort of effect on some Americans. Because he didn't win by that much now. He won by about 70,000 in the electoral college, states. And it has to affect some. Yeah. And I want to say one more thing about the pattern. There were patterns that, in my story, that mimicked E. Jean's. And that's another reason why I think my testimony is important. Being in the room alone, the door shut, that sort of thing, pushed against the wall.
Yes. In fact, that was really striking. I read your testimony that you gave before the jury, and how much they evoked it. And we've seen this in other circumstances of men who have been established to have done this systematically, that they have patterns, right?
Right. Harvey Weinstein in his robe.
That is coming to mind. What do you want to say to people, survivors of sexual abuse or sexual assault, who are watching this or who have followed this story, about what you've learned from this experience, because I suspect it's been hard to do, and certainly hard to do in 2016 and hard to do again in 2023.
You know, it's really hard to do just in general, to come forward about these kind of things. And then when someone is so powerful, i.e. the most powerful man in the world, it's like 1,000 times harder. And I hope that women and men or whoever feel like they're victims, that they feel that no matter how much time has gone by, that there's always a chance for justice. And I also hope that they feel that maybe they can tell somebody, because even if you can't go to the police, maybe you can go to a friend. Look, at E.G. told 2 friends. I told several friends and family. I feel like if you can just tell somebody, that will help in some way, whether it's down the road legally or just emotionally for yourself.
What do you think about what E. Jean Carroll has done here, given the fact that this was her case and given the fact that this took a tremendous amount of effort and persistence on her part?
She's one of the most bravest people I've ever met, and wonderful. And her persistence and staying power inspires me. She's the reason I testified. It's not like I really like to be in a legal situation like this and get in front of a room full of people and tell that story. I've never told that story verbally before, by the way. That was the first time I ever did. And I did it because of her inspiration and her strength.
I got to say, I read your testimony partly because reporters that were in the courtroom that day talked about just how profoundly compelling it was indeed. And it was remarkable testimony. And I appreciate you taking some time with us tonight. Thank you, Natasha Stoyanov.
Thanks so much, Chris.